Seattle Surge's new pickup 04, which we will talk about, is the most exciting pickup to me during this off 2 weeks that we just had. This kid is a monster, and his come up has been so fast. Can't wait to watch.
Do you like being the underdog right now?
I love it. I love being underdog. It's great.
Smooth moves, get some information, wins the gunfight on top. No shots, he is over as well. This is living up to the name. Oh boy, 04 gets it. Ghosty can't get a pair. 04 shooting bodies around it.
Bomb out through troops.
Oh, 04, he's making the plays. He has the reach. Abuza finds one. Can 04 find it?
Man, they're gonna have to hit the go button in one direction. They don't know where they want to go, and 04 says anything you can do, I can do better.
The Seattle Surge started the season off with a pretty solid roster of Illy, Arcides, and Abuza, but after just 2 majors, half of the team was gone, and Seattle was looking in the challengers pool to see who could fill in these roster spots. Initially, Brezzy was put in place for Illy, and then right after Major 2 in Miami, Seattle Surge announced that they would be dropping Arcides and picking up a mysterious challengers player named 04, a player that nobody in the scene had really ever heard about, somebody who made it into the Pro League in just about 2 years, and his impact on the team was immediate, but his journey to the Pro League still remains mostly a mystery. He's been a game changer for Surge, and they actually decided to keep him going into the Black Ops 6 season. But let's look at 04's journey to the COD League and how he dominated in his rookie season. 04 started playing competitive COD much later than a lot of current players in the Pro League. In fact, he started in the Cold War off season, and just like many other people who come up in the scene, he started out with online search and destroy matches to get his name out there. And it was just clear that 04 had a natural gift for mastering these game mechanics, and he had the confidence to compete with the best of the best. So after putting his head down for a few years, he adapted to the game and he started winning, and 2024 was the year where everything clicked for him. He was picked up for a Challengers Open team in January 2024, playing in a first Challengers Cup of the season, but he failed to get a good placement. But he didn't let this stop him from leveling up in the scene. As everyone knows, connections are essential in the COD scene, and in order to get in the Pro League, you gotta know the right people. And he was able to rub shoulders with some players on Lore Gaming that began noticing him in the Challengers events and seeing the energy that he brought to his team. In the past, he had even teamed with former pro players like Paulex, which I'm sure boosted his stock in the pro scene, and he just needed someone to take a chance on him. So going into the Miami LAN event in March, Classic, Gunless, and Dak took a chance on 04, and little did he know then, but this Challengers event would change his life forever. So on March 22nd, Lord Gold arrived to Miami, and they came into this event swinging and exceeded everyone's expectations. Like I said, 04 was relatively unknown in the challenger scene, but his teammates were constantly gassing him up and telling the scene that they needed to be on notice for this new young talent. I'm sure it even helped him having veterans like Classic and Gunless, who have been around the pro scene for a really long time, to help lead the charge for these younger guys like 04 and Dak. But the team was firing on all cylinders during this event. They made a convincing run through the winners bracket, taking out former pros, and then eventually going on to beat Lore Black under the same organization. But there was another obstacle standing in their way, and that was FaZe Black. And they had talented players like Joe Deceives, who had just been on LA Thieves, and Exceed, who was on LAG last season, notorious for their trash talking, so the pressure was on. But despite this, 04 and Lore Gaming showed out, winning 3-1, with 04 getting in his S&D bag with this 1v4, and he really started to turn heads after this. Then they made their way to the grand finals in one of 04's first ever LAN events. But being in the grand finals, things really started to look grim in the first few maps. FaZe Black came out and dominated Lord Gold of this best of 7 series, and FaZe Black went up 3-0, just needing one more win to secure the championship. Lore shocked the COD community, taking one map at a time until they tied the series 3-3. To make things even better, the final map went to a round 11, and then this happened.
Classic almost able to tally first blood. Nade cooked. Does land. Oh my goodness, it must have bounced off a pillar. Joe will fall.
It's a big first blood out of Classic. He's done it every time now, and FaZe Black have hit the rotation through top mid. Dak is able to find the second. It's a 4v2.
Dak trying to follow up. Red Dot chasing. Oh, he's weak though. Pistols are out. Kills not through yet. No one's out for the defuse, but Brad gets here in time. Now it's just down to 1. Rex dancing with 04, and it's the pistol to secure it. Plenty of time for the defuse. Gold is in the name.
So in
and
his
that
second
is
ever LAN tournament, 04 alongside of his teammates made one of the craziest comebacks in a grand finals, and they dominated the competition and put the Pro League on notice. This event sent a statement to the COD League, and there was many teams that needed an upgrade, and after an insane performance, it was almost inevitable that 04 was going to get called up to the big leagues. Around this time that the Miami event was happening, the Seattle Surge, who are now called the Vancouver Surge, I'll just call them Seattle Surge because that's what they were called back then, they had a rough patch in their season after dropping Illy from the roster, and in response to that, their search and destroy plummeted. They picked up a challengers player named Brezzy, but he didn't really move the needle, and RCDs wasn't really invested into the team, so Seattle knew that they needed a change if they wanted to get better. I think everything clicked for them, and they were like, 04 is the perfect upgrade for this roster, but Seattle wasn't even the only team that reached out to him. Boston Breach also reached out to try and sign him, and as we all know in competitive Call of Duty, things move really quickly, because within just a few weeks after the Miami event, 04 joined Surge's starting roster in place of Arcides, which proved to be a great decision. And so we got a little bit of practice with the team, and there were just a few events left in the season for him to prove that he belonged in the COD League. So the first time 04 would get his chance to play in the COD League came only a few weeks later, with the new Surge roster being Abuza, Brezzy, Luke, and 04. The first match was against Carolina Royal Ravens. I'm sure the nerves were running, but it was good that he was going to get some online reps for his first few matches in the league, and the game started out pretty well for Seattle Surge. They ranked 12th during Major 2, worst team in the league, but when 04 joined the team, his impact was almost immediate. They took the first two maps from Carolina, but Ravens wasn't going to go down that easy, especially with vets like Clay and TJ Halley. They used their experience to push this game to a map 5, but in the 6-star S&D, Surge clutched up, winning in 04's debut in the Call of Duty League. Now, he didn't have the best series, he had a .83, and Seattle got outslayed by Carolina, but at the end of the day, it was his first match in the league, and they got the win over this team, which was huge for them, and I'm sure it was a confidence boost going into the rest of Stage 3. They had 6 more matches ahead of them in Stage 3, and 04's debut in the Call of Duty League started turning some more heads. Seattle Surge would go on to finish 3 and 4, but 04 was racking highlights of his own, and they grabbed wins over Vegas Legion and the 2023 champs, the New York Subliners. Now, obviously, the team wasn't going to come in and go 7-0. They had to go through the growing pains of playing together, but it was clear that 04 was an upgrade, and he excelled in S&D. He had just recently picked up playing variant game mode, so it definitely took him some time to get used to it, and I know KD is not everything, but it kind of tells the story of how his games were going. Finished Stage 3 with a .87 and Control with a .89, but look at his S&D, KD. It's always been the highlight of his game, and something that he's honestly better than most of the league at. But 04's first stint in the league did not come with a bit of trash talk from other players around the league, because after beating the former champs NYSL during an online match, Sib accused Seattle Surge of breaking GAs, which led to this heated back and forth, putting a target on 04 for the rest of the season. But 04 wasn't ducking any smoke this season, and he let the league know he was ready to take over. So after getting some experience in the online matches, things were about to be really different, because he was heading to Toronto in his first time out of the States to play on LAN. But this will be new territory for Seattle, because they were actually starting in the winners bracket after coming in 7th in Stage 3. 04 got his first chance to play on LAN in the Pro League at Major 3 in Toronto, and this was one of the best majors of the entire season, with Seattle starting in the winners bracket against the home team Toronto. And Ultra have been playing really well to this point, and their experience showed during this match against the rookies, with 04 and Surge falling 3-1 to Ultra, which ultimately sent them to the losers bracket. But they weren't going to let one match take them out, and they were locked in for their losers bracket run. And in this match, 04 would be playing his former teammate Gunless on the Minnesota Rocker. And I feel like every time 04 has played Minnesota this season, he's had a masterclass, and this game would be no different. It was actually one of his best series stats-wise throughout the entire CDL season, and Surge were just 10 steps ahead of this disjointed Minnesota Rocker squad. Even with Standy dropping a season-high 17 kills on the high-rise S&D, Seattle was able to bounce back and win the series 3-1, with 04 and Abuza carrying the squad. 04 had a 1.17 KD, and Abuza had a 1.37, and the two rookies carried that momentum into the next series against Carolina. They beat them in Stage 3. They continued their losers bracket run, winning 3-1, and things were coming together for the squad, especially with the help of Rambo Ray, their coach.
And now you're playing with a lot of legendary players and a legendary coach too. Talk to me about what Ray does for you guys, for you and the team, and how he's been helping y'all get prepared for this.
Bro, honestly, Ray makes it so easy for me to game. Like, I could just load up and I know where almost everybody is because how much, like, time he puts into the game. So I'm very excited and happy to have him as a coach.
And that definitely helped 04 going into Major 3. 04 got his chance to back up the trash talk against Sib in their first ever LAN match against each other in the losers bracket. NYSL had just fell 3-0 to FaZe Clan, and 04 came out swinging in this first map, taking down the former CDL champs in the 6-star hardpoint, and 04 started to get loud, but NYSL kept their composure, winning the next 3 maps, and Sib had to let him hear it. I mean, NYSL was just a more experienced squad, but 04 had the COD scene on notice. This was his first ever LAN event in the COD Pro League, and he was even in Sib's head for an entire month after posting that tweet. And one thing was certain is that 04 never backed down from the competition, but for this event, they finished top 6 in his 3rd ever LAN event, and it was great experience for the rookie to match up against some of these teams, to get some wins under their belt, and experience some losses so that they could eventually get better throughout the season. For stage 4, they had a much better schedule than the previous stage, and Surge made the most of it. At the beginning of stage 4, they had been playing together as a squad for about 2 months, and Surge started to look a lot better, and the results were showing that. 04 was definitely getting more comfortable in the league, especially coming in the middle of the season, and they were on a time crunch because the race for COD Champs was extremely close. Only the top 8 teams make COD Champs. Now, they lost to Toronto at the Major 3 LAN, but in week 1 of stage 4, they bounced back, beating Ultra 3-2 in a closely contested game, and then they would go on to beat Minnesota Rocker once again, where 04 had another masterclass series. That might say more about the Rocker squad and how bad they were last season, but 04 took advantage of it. But they would match up against NYSL once again in the online stage. They couldn't beat the team in their 3rd match since 04 joined, and to be fair, Sib had a 1.55 KD, and Surge was just simply getting outplayed. But they would play the next day against Boston Breach, which was an easy 3-0 win, then falling to Vegas and Miami, and then ending the stage beating LAG 3-1. And now, after getting all these reps, it was clear that 04 belonged in the league, and he was proving his worth in every single series, but he had to lock in because the champs race was closer than ever. This is what the middle of the pack teams look like. 04 ended stage 4 with a 0.96 overall KD, and he was making plays like this.
Bloodied up. CDL, nice work again. 04 taking a little bit stagnant. They're gonna have to hit the go button in one direction. They don't know where they want to go, and 04 says
With 1, maybe 2, trying to win this fight, and just like the last round, he hit some beautiful headies.
Right,
to get the win.
yeah, nice just angles there by 04. He's able to find the 2nd in the round. Now you have to activate. Do you just play your life here for 25 seconds? Are you gonna hunt him?
04's working on the ace as well, and 04 gets the ace.
And like I said, he proved to be extremely reliable in Search, especially in clutch situations. In fact, he had the most S&D clutches in stage 4 with 6, and he was icing out these rounds, and him and Abuza were definitely shining on the Surge roster. Their odds for making COD Champs were looking pretty good. They were tied at 130 with Miami Heretics, but there were a few teams trailing really close behind, and it would all come down to the final major of the year, Major 4 in Burbank, California. So depending on how Surge played in this event, their season could be over. But 04 knew what was at stake, and not only did he have a positive record for stage 4, Surge even made the winners bracket for the Major 4 LAN. And this tournament was originally supposed to be hosted in Carolina, but they announced that they were unable to host the event, so it was hosted in Burbank, California with no fans. And these were must-win games. Like I said, if Surge loses, they could have been out of champs, and their season would have been over at Major 4. First game they had was against Vegas Legion, who were also fighting for their spot at COD Champs, and 04 had a pretty rough start to the series, but in the final 2 maps, he showed why he is so vital to this team. In map 4 in the Rio Hardpoint, he went 29-22, and the team clutched up the game at the very end, and things were looking hopeless in the final map. Surge went down 3-5, but 04 had some crucial clutches, ultimately carrying his team to a 6-5 victory, ending the map with double digits. This win on LAN helped push them up in the rankings and gave them about a 95% chance to make COD Champs. And if it weren't for 04 in these final S&D rounds, things could have played out much differently. But this insane victory didn't last very long because Surge had to face FaZe in the very next match, and they got 3-0'd pretty quick. I mean, FaZe was just unstoppable this season until, you know, the end of the tournaments, then they started choking. But their bracket got even harder because they had to play Toronto Ultra next. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, 04 and Seattle Surge couldn't get it done. Surge almost pulled off the reverse sweep, but in the invasion, search and destroy, they ended up losing 1-6. But like I said, they had played so well in that first match that they had secured their spot for COD Champs, so their season was not over just yet. Making COD Champs was a milestone in its own, so this is what the final standings looked like before COD Champs. And as you can see, Seattle Surge finished with 200 points with a series record of 16-24. And during Major 4 in Burbank, 04 finished with a .98 KD, and they played really well against the bottom 7 teams. But when it came to the top 4, it was just really hard. But they had to lock in because COD Champs was right around the corner, and there was a bunch of money on the line. COD Champs was an insane atmosphere in Texas, and it was arguably one of the best events the CDL has ever hosted. Unfortunately, in his first time at COD Champs, things did not go as smoothly as he had hoped. Everyone started in winner's bracket, and in the first match, they had to play against NYSL, who had won their previous 5 matches, and every map during this series was insanely close. And if a few gunfights went differently, anybody could have won. And they were going back and forth, all the way until the very last map. Now, 04 didn't have the best series of his career, especially in the respawn game modes, and NYSL's experience on the big stage really showed. They were able to win the 50-50 clutch situations, and Kismet went 15-3 on the final map. So there's really not that much you could do in that situation. On top of that, Hydra broke the 2024 CDL series kill record, and so did Abuza with 122 kills. But it was a great first series overall, but Surge had to go down to the losers bracket to play Miami Heretics. Surge did come out dominating in the 6-star map 1, with 04 having a great first game to bounce back. The second map would be an entirely different story. Unfortunately, 04 went 0-9. He dropped a donut. You know, it happens. He wasn't going to let that stop him from digging deep and competing for the next few maps. Miami went on to take the map 3 invasion control, but once again, Surge bounced back, winning the map 4, and then they came out super strong in the final S&D, going up 5-3, but somehow Miami showed resilience in this invasion S&D, and this happened.
They're taking out some trophies, and
that's going to allow the smoke to get down. This has been the problem. Watch number 5, though. Real is going on a very long flank. Some nades in on both sides.
Is he going to get
pressure to Vigil, and no, 04 is through for the first blood.
The great. Can he do it? Hello. Able to find one now, get away. 3 versus 3. Bomb is planted. Lucky looking for one. He drops shots and wins it. Abuza's gone. 3v2 for Heretics. Both lanes with Tractor now. 20 seconds to go. Here we go. They're going to pounce out. 04. Great damage in. It's going to be all on 04. They drop them. Lucky with both. Fickle is roaring and Heretics win.
Ending 04's rookie season in the CDL. Surge ended this event placing top 8, and I'm sure 04 was disappointed, but like I said, it was a win in itself for him to help this team make COD Champs in the first place, and it was his first ever COD Champs, so I wasn't expecting him to like go in and win the entire event. This was probably his worst event. I mean, granted, he only played 2 series. He had a .85 KD overall and a .55 in S&D, so I'm sure he's looking to get his vengeance next season, but that match right there ended his CDL season on July 18th, 2024. But overall, 04 had a great rookie season, and I think that if he was in the league at the beginning of the year, he would have definitely been in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. But the Modern Warfare 3 season wasn't exactly over.
Welcome to the Esports World Cup.
Now, while the COD League season ended, which is hosted by Activision, there was a separate tournament going on in Saudi Arabia in August called the Esports World Cup. They did invite all of the Call of Duty League teams, plus a few Challengers teams, and it was an opportunity for all of the players to travel overseas and compete in Saudi Arabia for 3 days, which is valuable experience for anyone in the CDL, especially for 04. And while this wasn't an official Activision event, the Surge roster did stay together, and they actually played pretty well at the Esports World Cup. They played Minnesota Rocker again, which was G2 Esports, and 04 had another masterclass. I guess just every time he plays them, he's just gonna be like positive. They won their first group stage match against Minnesota. In a full circle moment, they played NYSL for the final time in the Modern Warfare 3 season. As you guys know, this Twitter beef had been brewing, but 04 had one final chance to beat NYSL, who were now named Cloud9. 04 had a great series against Cloud9, and earlier in the season, season, Sib had tweeted out, "You think y'all won because y'all are actually good? You let one win from a top team get to your head." He said, "I'll sell my testes if I ever lose to y'all again." And guess what? Surge beat him. And then Surge came out with this legendary tweet, and it was just a great way to cap off the season because they have been going back and forth all year. And after this group stage, it was a single elimination bracket. Seattle Surge is now called Vancouver Surge, so I kind of use that interchangeably. I'm just referring to Seattle because that's what they were called throughout the CDL season, but they're now called Vancouver Surge. And in this single elimination bracket, they were able to take out the Carolina Royal Ravens, with 04 having an S&D masterclass, and they advanced to the semifinals where they were guaranteed 160k. And 04 played really well in the semifinals against 100T, but the rest of his team struggled, and they ultimately lost 3-0. And now the MW3 season was actually over. It was cool that they got a chance to play at an extra event. It was great experience for them to go overseas, plus they won a little bit of extra cash. And like I said, it's just crazy to think about how much has happened for 04 in the year 2024. Vancouver Surge has decided to build around 04 and Abuza going into the Black Ops 6 season. 04's rookie season, I would consider it a success. He played really well and showed that he was able to adapt even when the pressure is on, and he earned himself a spot as a professional Call of Duty player in the COD League. Now, Black Ops 6 is going to be a completely different game with different mechanics, especially with Omni movement, so it's going to be interesting to see how this Vancouver Surge squad works. Since the MW3 season ended, they dropped Brezzy and Hook, but they picked up Pixie and Nasty. Regardless, 04 is going to have a bright future ahead of him, so I hope he does well going forward, and I'm going to be watching his games, and this is only the beginning. So let me know what you think about 04's rookie season down in the comment section below, and we'll see how this AR duo of Nasty and 04 end up working out in the Black Ops 6 season. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed it, check out this video where I break down the next super team in the Call of Duty League, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, peace.